What's up, everybody? Welcome to Human Innovation Tarot. My name is Eddie with Imagine Life Development Center. And today I wanted to share a video with you all that I took from a recent live tarot reading. And in this video, I want to talk about fake fulfillment. Most people spend their lives pursuing false or fake fulfillment, whether it's superficial relationships, whether it's hustle and grind culture, whether it's a certain number in their bank account, whether it's a new house, a new car, all these material things that in and of themselves, they're not bad. It's not wrong to pursue those things. It's just that when we seek those things for spiritual fulfillment, meaning to really feel a sense of fulfillment in our soul, not temporary fulfillment, not happiness, not like, oh, wow, I got a raise today. I'm happy. Oh, I met somebody. I'm happy today. But maybe tomorrow you're not. Maybe something bad happens and then you're not happy anymore, right? I'm talking about lasting, deep contentment, deep, lasting fulfillment. Unfortunately, we hypnotize ourselves pursuing these things, and culture and society is constantly shoving these things down our throat and basically shoving these things, pushing these things on us all the time, that we become hypnotized into believing that that's all that there is, and that's actually what's going to make us happy and fulfilled to begin with, when that's not necessarily true. So then what we have to do is we have to go through life and we have to pursue those objects again and again and again, just to get right back to the reality and the truth of these things were never meant to fulfill us to begin with. In other words, we're pursuing the wrong things. Our happiness and our fulfillment will never be found in those things. So that's what this video is all about. And just a quick word of caution. I do get very passionate in my tarot readings. So if there are any sensitive ears nearby, it's just a word of caution. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. Sometimes we just live in survival for so long that there's no time to actually sit and evaluate ourselves, because that's not what survival or living is about. It's about living for somebody else, caring. There's always some other kind of thing, right? Which is what we call a human doing and not a human being. There's a reason that we're called human beings and not human doings. But most people in 2025 are human doings. Like when I ask somebody, who are you? They'll tell me their name. Well, you're not your name. Your name is something that your parents gave you. So who are you? And then they'll say their career, right? Most people will name their career. They define themselves by what they do for a living, how they make their paycheck. Oh, well, I work, I do this job. I work at this business. I have this title, this thing or whatever, blah, blah, blah. No, that's what you do for a living. That's how you make a paycheck. Who are you? And they say, well, they'll say they're well, I'm such and such's mom. They got kids. I'm Sally's mom, or I'm Timmy's mom. No, that's a role. That's a role that you fulfill. Being a parent is a role, right? It's still not who you are. And it's so interesting when you ask people who they are, very, very, very few people can actually tell you who it is that they are. And the reason that they can't tell you who they are is because they've been so preoccupied with being a human doing instead of being a human being. And that's why so many things in life end up backwards, right? So many people end up stuck in the matrix, living lives that they don't really want to live, and basically having to hypnotize themselves into believing that the lack of fulfillment that they're experiencing is actually the fulfillment that they deserve. Holy shit, let me say that again for everybody. So many people are living in a hypnotic state, believing that the lack of fulfillment that they're experiencing is actually the fulfillment they deserve. Because why else would you want to live? Why else would you want to live in a world where you actually had to embrace the fact that the life that you're living is very unfulfilling? And that's why people bullshit themselves all the time. We lie to ourselves all the time about how unhappy and how miserable we actually fucking are. Most people do. That's why we live in a superficial culture where everybody pretends to be this, pretends to be that, and what you see isn't real. It's all fake. It's all bullshit. You know, fake this, fake that, fake ass, fake tits, fake car, fake bank account, fake happiness, fake makeup, fake hair, fake, 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 fake. Everything's fucking fake, right? Because that's the only way. That's the only way we could survive, is to hypnotize ourselves and to basically embody and embrace the illusion of bullshit that we hypnotize ourselves with, to feel that life was tolerable. Because if we had to actually embrace life for what it actually was, then, you know, that means that we would have to take responsibility for the fact that we actually are fucking miserable. But most people aren't going to do that. So why am I saying this? Well, the reason I'm saying this is the answer, not just for you, Elaine, but the answer, because this is a collective message that's coming through me. This isn't just Elaine that I'm speaking to, by the way. So we can all thank Elaine for her question, because the answers that are here for Elaine are not just for Elaine, they're for all of us, myself included. The way out of the bullshit, the way out of our misery, and the way to get the things that we actually want is by going within. And I know you've heard this a million fucking times. This isn't anything new that you've heard. And I know it's cliche, I know it sounds cheesy, but just because it's cliche and cheesy and you've heard it before doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that we've taken it for granted. And it means that most people, they scoff at it and they brush it off and they blow it off because they've actually not tried to do it. They hear it and they think because it doesn't sound profound and it's not complex, then it must not be relevant. It must not be worth their time, right? And so it's a double bind. People put themselves in a double bind, which means essentially they put themselves in a non-active state, which ensures their misery moving forward in their fucking lives, because essentially what a double bind means is that you put yourself in between two opposing forces and you're basically choosing neither. What does that mean? Well, if something is too hard, if it's too complex, then people avoid it. It's too complex. It's too hard. There's too many steps. I want easy. I want quick. I want easy. I want convenient. Okay. But then when you give them quick, easy, and convenient, it's too simple. And then they're like, well, no, that's baby shit. I already know that. So then they still don't take action. So if it's too complex, they don't take action. If it's too simple, they still don't take action. That's called a double bind. It's a paradox of inaction, right? And so what we have to do is, if we want fulfillment, whoever you are, all of us, Elaine, me, Gene, whoever, all of us, if you want fulfillment, whatever that looks like for you, every single one of you are here tonight because you want something. You don't just come to a free tarot reading because you got nothing better to do. I mean, I don't know, maybe some of you, but I doubt it. Every single one of you out there has something that you want, a desire. You want something. You want more money, you want better health, you want love, you want passion, you want something. Well, there's two forms of the thing that you want. There's the knockoff brand. We all know what the knockoff brand is. You go to the store, you have Fruit Loops, or you have Apple Jacks. That's the original. Like, that's the name brand. And then the knockoff brand is Tastios, right? You can have the Tastios, or you can have the Apple Jacks. And if you've had the Apple Jacks, then you know that the Tastios, they look similar, but they don't taste the same. They're just not the same. They're the fucking Tastios. They're not the fucking Apple Jacks, right? And if you want the Apple Jacks and not the Tastios, then you have to be willing to do what it takes to get the Apple Jacks instead of settling for the Tastios. But most people, they spend so much time eating all the Tastios because it's quick, it's easy, and it's cheap, it didn't cost a lot, that it's kind of like, for those of you who remember, maybe you're old enough to remember the food court in the mall. You go into the food court in the mall, and then all the little restaurants in the food court, not all of them, but a lot of them, they have the little people who stand out there with the samples, and so you walk by, and so to get your business, they give you a free sample of their food to try to entice you. That's their way. That's like they're competing. I mean, you got your restaurant, and there's like 5 others right next door to you. There's all these choices, and you want that person's business. You want them to spend their money at your business. So they're trying to entice you with the samples. And so some people, they just make laps, right? They just keep going around, filling up, and they'll keep giving you the samples too. Like, you want another one? You want another one? You want another? And you just make a little lap, make a little circle. Next thing you know, you've had a little buffet and you're full. And you get a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, and then you're full. Now you don't need to eat. Well, see, that's the illusion that most people have when it comes to fulfillment, going back to all the different ways that we bullshit ourselves into being happy, is we fill up on the cheap and the easy, the low-hanging fruit in life. And since we can fill up on the low-hanging fruit, we reinforce the illusion that that's all that there is. We believe that that's it. All that there is, the only fulfillment that's left for me in life is the lowest hanging fruit, because that's all that I filled up on. I don't know what it's like to go to Ruth Chris Steakhouse or some other place where one fucking asparagus, one spear of asparagus costs $100. Here's your $100 spear of asparagus, right? Like, wow, that better either cure my erectile dysfunction or better have the cure for fucking cancer, right? $100 spear of asparagus. But all joking aside, most people, they fill up on low-hanging fruit. They deceive themselves into thinking that that's all that there is. There's nothing more fulfilling to be found in life. And that's the lie. And since they've hypnotized themselves into believing that lie, then there's no motivation, there's no inspiration to go look for anything more. And so that creates a human dilemma. Or we could call soul cancer. And soul cancer is essentially when we stop growing. We all either grow or we die. That is just a hard fact of life. Now, it doesn't mean that you're literally going to die, but you'll die a spiritual death, basically, right? And so, a spiritual death essentially means you're going to live a life of fucking misery. You're never gonna know what fulfillment's like, because you're spiritually dead on the inside. You're spiritually bankrupt, rather. That's how people end up there. So, what we don't want, coming full circle in this whole big rant, what we don't want is to continue to believe in the illusion and the lie that the low-hanging fruit is all that there is. That's the first thing that we don't want to do. The second thing that we want to do is we actually want to correct the fucking problem. How many of you have ever had a problem, a long-term problem, a long-term pain, and you went to get diagnosed for the long-term problem that you had, and the quote-unquote expert or specialist that you went to see about said problem gave you some type of Band-Aid. Here's a pill. Take a pain pill. You have anxiety, here. Take these pills. Yeah, there's 100 fucking negative side effects that are going to fuck you all up, but hey, you won't have anxiety anymore. Oh, here's a pain pill. It's not going to actually fix the pain or what's causing the pain, but you just won't feel the pain. And then when you start feeling pain again, you just take another one of these. But after you take about 100 of these, your body's going to get used to it. Then we're going to have to transfer you over to something else. And there's actually side effects to that medication too. So you're going to be creating another problem while you're actually band-aiding this problem. Right? When the truth is, you could have just gone to the source of the problem and actually fixed the problem. Like, let's just fix the problem instead of throwing band-aids at the problem, right? So that's the second thing. And that's what this is here, okay? And again, I'm not just talking to Elaine here, because there's actually a message here that's for everybody, myself included. It just so happened to be that Elaine was the one who had the question that the divine was like, okay, well, cool. You're giving me an opportunity to speak to Elaine, but I'm also going to speak to the rest of everybody. So if you're tuning out right now because you think this is not your reading because I'm talking to, it's supposed to be Elaine's reading, you're doing yourself a grave disservice. But, I'm just a messenger. So sacrifice. So going back here for you, Elaine, and everybody else. So the sacrifice is not so much of a sacrifice in terms of a long-term, like what the divine is not asking you to do, Elaine, is to give up something forever, but the divine is asking you to do this trust fall. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you haven't already, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. All the other information is in the description box below. And as always, my friends,
I'm not a bloody psychic.